India 2047, India at 100. Yesterday, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi, talked about the India's future in the coming 25 years. That is what Amrut Kal in his description. During this Amrut Kal, India's journey will become epic journey. So that is why this coming 5 years it will be the golden moment for India. That is why he promised to return and he would give his Independence Day speech next year as usual. Whereas the opposition parties, they are claiming that this would be the Prime Minister's last speech at Ramparts of the Red Fort. Okay, it's a critical. I would like to give a critical appraise about his speech, especially his speech is based on the India's future in the coming 25 years. That is what India at 100, India at 247. According to him, he talked based on the recent SBI's economic research issues report. He talked and he predicting that by 2047, that is India at 100, India is going to become the second or third largest economy. But according to the IMF, International Monetary Fund, and Nomura, and S&P, and various IFB, and FBI report, secret FBI report to the President, US President, annually or biannually, and according to various reports, unanimously they are talking that India is going to become the third largest economy behind China in the first place, United States of America in the second place, and India will be the third place. But according to some these same reports, they are also saying that India would become the second largest economy if they around $40 trillion. Okay, by surpassing the present US superpower, the present superpower US also. So India is going to become the second largest economy by 2047 if that everything will be in fine tuning, like what we have, the present geopolitical, economic, the present India's growth rate, world, global, recessionary tendency, etc. So India is going to become the second or third largest economy by 2047. There will not be any counter allegations and counter argumentations regarding this one. That is what Prime Minister yesterday stressed that issue. So now a critical appraisal as far as his policies coming. So he claimed that for the last 10 years that BJP ruling, the present ruling establishment has laid strongest foundation for the next 25 years India's economy. So as far as this is concerned, I don't think that it is the credit of the BJP last 10 years. This is the credit of the last 75 years. Okay, since 1947, earlier the Nehru's prime ministership, around 17 years prime ministership, later Lal Bahadur Shastri, and later, so everybody has contributed, especially Nehru's, the first prime ministership, Nehru, in his first 17 years prime ministership, he gave a vision, the present India's vision. Now we are marching ahead based on his foundation, no doubt at all. For example, his IITs, okay, Indian Institute of Technologies, IIM, still we are showcasing them. He's established scientific vision like ISRO, we are showcasing them. And BAR, we are showcasing them. The army, we are showcasing them. And his constitutional establishment, constitutionality, in other words, the implementation of the constitution in action oriented, in terms of deed, we are marching ahead. Yesterday, Prime Minister mentioned 3 Ds, that the democracy, demography and diversity. These are our culture. These are related to our democratic, last 75 years democratic history and our cultural tradition. Nobody can claim these things. Of course, he has contributed a political stability for the last 10 years. No doubt at all. And he attributed to the reduction of the corruption, as he mentioned. And he reduced the dynastic policies, as he mentioned. Now he challenged, apart from 3 Ds, demography and diversity and democracy. No doubt, 100%, absolutely, these are the real strength, as Prime Minister told, that these are the real strength of the India, and no country stand before India regarding these 3 issues are concerned. So that is why the future, next 25 years, not only next 25 years, as he mentioned, next millennium itself, okay, it would be the India's millennium also. And he also, this indirectly mentioned one the strapping of the colonialism because of this defeat of a small king to a small kingdom. That is what this West Bengal. In 1757, Bengal fell into the India's hand, this British hands because of the Plassey War, the defeat of the then Bengal king by Robert Clive. He mentioned a story. Okay, because of this defeat of a small king, because of lacking of his astuteness, so thrown India into around 500 to 300 years of the slavery. Because why he cautioned the Prime Minister, he really, we should appreciate the Prime Minister regarding the history. The remaining leaders are forgetting our India's history, forgetting our civilizational roots. The present Prime Minister is stressing upon our cultural roots, especially this diversity, this democracy, and he is also talking about this democracy. India's democracy is not adopted democracy. Okay, India itself is a mother of democracy. He is stressing. It's absolutely true. For example, this Amartya Sen, in his book Argumentative Indian, he talked about the democratic credentials of India. When the whole India was enjoying the democratic credential, especially Cholas in South India, etc., the whole Europe was under the darkness. They had to see the dawn of the modern civilization. Now they are claiming mothers of democracy. What about India? So in this way, the Prime Minister stressed upon India's national and civilizational roots. It is really praiseworthy. This is the time of the hour. Okay, a leader, okay, a visionary should remind the people about their national roots and civilizational roots. He is talking about, I don't want to see is a national right-wing political party. So this is the leader should do it. He is doing. This is what lacuna on the part of the opposition leaders, opposition parties, opposition leaders. They are talking about the present, but they are not talking about India's rich history. They are not talking about much about the India's future. So he is talking about the India's past, present, as well as future. So he is talking about he is proclaiming his vision of the corruption, reduction of the dynastic politics, etc. Yes, Indian democracy, as Ambedkar and mentioned in his Constitutional Assembly speech, whoever is implementing the Constitution, okay, this constitutionality depends upon the implementing persons. If the implementing political parties or implementing authorities are bad, the Constitution will become bad. Or else if these implementing authorities are good, though Constitution is bad, that will become. So it is reminding the Ambedkar speech yesterday. So now India has been plagued by, Indian politics has been plagued by many ills. Actually these ills are reducing, hunting and stunting the India's growth process and India's vision prospect vis-a-vis the Chinese. China just before India. Okay, China become the around 7 times larger economy than India. Now they are talking about the global order change, etc. India is still growing. Of course, India has its own potentials. For example, a proverb like, the democracy may delay, but it can deliver. Yes, India's greatest strength is its democracy. Now this added advantage is demography. Demography or also demand. India has its own demand and these consumers and producers, cheap labor, and this greatest demographic dividend will open up a greatest vistas for in terms of opportunities for the next century itself. So the next millennium is of India, and also it is stressed upon the rejuvenation, India's rejuvenation. Yes, this is, we should understand, we should unravel the mystery behind this word. What do you mean by this rejuvenation? India is going to become superpower, no doubt, according to SBI report. From the India's per capita income from present to $2,000 or else 2 lakh rupees to around 4.9 lakh rupees or else $12,000. It means by 2047 Indian per capita income will grow by 7.5 times compared to the present level. It's no doubt India is going to become. Do you think this is the India is going to become superpower? Yes, it is going to become superpower, no doubt at all. But what Prime Minister mentioned by his word, this rejuvenation in the sense, getting back its glory. What it has lost its rejuvenation, this earlier glorified the economical and cultural and social superpower status across in the human history. Now India lost it because of certain this colonialism, etc., etc. Now India is going to claim it, reclaim it. That's what rejuvenation. So he talked about the cultural, the implied cultural features is very important in the speech. But however, one important thing is the opposition leader, okay, Kharge, the president of the National Congress, okay, he skipped to this meeting. What do you mean by this one? This is what he talked, that he accused of the Prime Minister's speech. This is the electioneering speech. Yes, elections are at corner. But as far as this various Prime Minister speeches at Red Fort since independence, from the Nehru to President Modi, if this is the tradition of the Indian Prime Minister, especially earlier Prime Minister, that they should not be mentioning about any politics at this Independence Day speech. But however, this Modi mentioned various political issues and his BJP's this returns, political agenda, manifestations, etc., etc. Of course, he should have mentioned this proclaiming of various programs like new housing schemes and Vishwakarma speech, Vishwakarma one scheme to OBCs, etc. It's not wrong, but it should not be painted as a political speech. But of course, yesterday we can clearly see that there is a politics in his speech. That is what one wrong as claimed by this opposition leader. And also even many opposition leaders also skipped to this meeting. So he should have ensured to all political across the spectrum of the politics and economy that it should be an event of the Independence Day. So he failed as far as this issue is concerned. Of course, but his speech, that is one of the longest speech in Indian independent history, that is 89 minutes. But however, his speech in Hindi, but not spontaneous. Okay, he prepared this speech much before, and he read it. Whereas the Nehru speech, he never prepared his speech. He came directly, he talked with his soul. That kind of soulness was there in the earlier Prime Minister's speech and even Indira's speech, even Lal Bahadur's speech. That kind of soulness was missed in the Modi speech when compared with this Nehru. And he didn't mention about the Mahatma Gandhi, and he didn't mention about the first Prime Minister, and he didn't mention about the various greatest Prime Ministers since independence. That is also one kind of lacuna as far as his speech is concerned. That is why these opposition leaders are accused of this speech this is one. But of course, this speech, yesterday's Modi speech, okay, reminded the Indians that what they have to do. It is action-oriented speech. And he mentioned about the India's hills. He mentioned about the India's vision. So this is one of the, as far as my mind is concerned, this is one of the biggest, one of the top speech of this Independence Day since Independence Day.